We both clicked at the same time. This is
That's
where
fine.
Julie and Phaedra, we're both managers and like we like to take charge. So yeah, it's interesting.
Just click
All right.
button.
All right. So Natalie, we feel confident Natalie will eventually make it onto the air. I wish I could tell her that the secret to it, but we keep switching positions. So we'll just go ahead and say welcome to those of you that are here. We have 3 of us right now, and hopefully soon we will have a 4th. Sometimes Blab, let's blame it on Blab.
Yeah.
So
well, it's still in beta, right? Like,
I guess it is. It is. You're right. It's totally beta.
Apparently she can see us.
Oh, she can see us. How do I click on? I don't know.
There.
Okay, let's hope.
Again. Let's just let her keep trying.
Yay! So Natalie, what was the thing? So we can do a little lessons learned here. What was the thing that you had to figure out?
I closed the window and I reopened it.
Oh, you know what? Actually,
my help desk people tell me the same thing all the time.
That does fix a lot of things. So that's great.
Turn them off and on again.
Yeah, close it and reopen it. Like close the browser window.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah, and I was such a keener. I like logged on much earlier than the time, and still to no avail.
Well, and there's no way to work out all the kinks before you go live, but we are live and we are recording. So
and je ne parle pas le français
ici. Anyone speak français here?
Je parle un peu de français. Mon français c'est très mal parce que
I speak a little bit of French. I can say Jean-Paul, vous regardez la télé, non maman, nous étudions le français.
Oh my goodness, Jean-Paul wants to watch TV, but we're studying French right now. I come from Montreal. I come from Montreal.
French textbook.
PR tips, you get a French lesson.
Okay.
I should totally get props for that. Nobody gives me props.
I can give props. I can give you props.
We're on Anglais, and let me kick it off with a couple things, a couple notes for those of you that are new to Blab before we formally get started and introduce everybody. So if you're new to Blab, please feel free on the right-hand side to questions, comments, add them. I would prefer, we don't speak Spanish, I would prefer that if you do have a question, just to make sure that we get to it, if you'll do a /Q and then type your question, and that'll put it over in the question box for us, and we'll make sure that we can answer it. If you like something that somebody's saying, go ahead and push those hands. It's not a popularity thing. It just says, I like what you're saying, and it helps us stay on track.
It's a popularity thing.
I mean, right now,
I was really upset last week. I had like the lowest props,
so maybe I should shut up.
I'm willing to go all the way this week. I want some props. So.
Okay,
it's all a learning experience for me. So
okay, so here's what we're talking about this week. So I'm Phaedra, by the way. I blog at allthingsphaedra.com. And I once upon a time had a site called Social Dialect where I talked about the whole world of blogging and PR and social media and making money and all that good stuff. And now I find it's just easier to talk about it. So this week, Julie and I are co-hosting a session on PR because bloggers, those that try and make their living doing this, rely on working with brands, and that comes either through typically a blogging network or through a PR agency. So I'm going to let Julie introduce herself, and then we will get our guests. You'll hear their resume, and then we're going to dive right in with some of our questions. And if you have questions, you can type them in at any time, and we'll get to them when we can. So Julie, take it away.
Thank you. Or there, right?
I'm here.
Brady Bunch style.
No, the other way was right. The other way was right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's reversed. I'm Julie, and you can check me out at julienowell.com. That's N-O-W. Well, it's how my name is spelled right there. And I do strategy development and influencer marketing, and I'm an influencer myself and a publisher of websites. I work with brands and individuals across North America to kind of help them monetize their blog. I do free blogger mentorship courses where I teach and help and train. And Phaedra and I, well, we've met a couple times now in real life. And we just kind of thought that, you know, maybe the industry needed a little bit of mentoring nowadays. And so we thought we'd start off hosting these blabs and spreading other people's wisdom. So you can find my blog at Three Chickens in a Boat. I'm also the publisher of Blunt Moms, which is a large collab website in North America. And that's about it. And I do have chickens.
So I invited, normally Julie and I will kind of go out to our networks and find people that we think.
Well, it's like we're doing a swap because we do.
We bring a friend. So I brought, am I pointing the right way? I brought Anne. Yeah. I met Anne several years ago at Blog Pause, where I was a speaker at a pet blogging conference, and Anne was there with her cute little Pomeranian. But Anne was there because she worked as, I'm sure the title is wrong, but she was basically director of social media at the Humane Society of the United States. She's since moved on to some agency roles, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, so I'm Anne Hogan, and I'm currently working at Golin, which is a large PR agency, primarily in North America, but we do have offices all over the world. And I am a digital manager there, so I do a lot of different things for a lot of clients, including influencer relationships, digital strategy, social media strategy and content,
she'll be back.
Real-time marketing, all that good stuff. Some clients of ours are Nintendo, McDonald's, Nestle, Unilever, Toyota.
Wow, you have your hands full with some of those brands.
Yeah,
they're pretty big. Yeah, just from, I mean, when you say Nestle and McDonald's right away, I'm like, ooh. Not that there's anything wrong with them. Anything wrong with them. But, you know, I work with Purina, which is part of Nestle, so I get it. But yeah, those can be some hot button accounts. Okay, anything else?
Their reputation management.
Yeah.
I just do the fun stuff.
Natalie, why don't you tell us a little bit, because I'm not that familiar, but I think you're more a part of a blogging network that focuses, I think your role focuses primarily on Canadian bloggers, but I'd like to hear more about that.
That's right. So my name is Natalie. I work at Influence Central. We have our head office is in Boston, and I work out of our Toronto office. I've been with Influence Central, formerly Mom Central, so that's still one of the brands that we operate under, but we've sort of expanded our breadth to include all types of influencers, which I know that we're going to get to later. And I've been there for about 5 years. So I am editor and community manager. So I oversee all things related to, I suppose, the Influence Central voice. So all outreaches on both sides of the border, all sort of client communications, aside from sort of client services, emails, and those sorts of things, as well as I manage the community management for all of our community-facing properties on social. So all our Twitter, our Facebook, on both sides of the border, and I also oversee blogger vetting and blogger selection and influencer selection for our Canadian campaigns. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And that actually leads nicely into my first question, which I forgot to even mention to you guys, but I think it's the big one that perhaps some bloggers or wannabe bloggers that are watching this are going to want to know, and that is, how do I get noticed by brands? So there's the network side, and maybe you can talk about, Natalie, joining up with a network and how that can get you started. And maybe you can talk a little bit about how an agency or a brand just finds you or notices you, or do you wait for brands to come to you? I mean, bloggers to come to you.
Shall I go first?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So definitely, I think that if you're starting out as a blogger or an influencer, and this is why we've sort of expanded the term from blogger to influencer, is because nowadays we have all kinds of storytellers. So we have visual storytellers, we have people who are conversationalists on Twitter and on Facebook, people who have communities that are outside of a blog. And so these types of influencers, as you're sort of up and coming, I would suggest to seek out companies like Mom Central or Influence Central that offer a network that you can sign into, you can view current opportunities, and you can sort of go on their mailing list to be alerted to opportunities to work with brands that you might be passionate about. And what we've done is we've created a portal so that people can indicate what their sort of prime area of influence is, what they're interested in, and some favorite brands and products and those sorts of things, so that we can make sure that we're tailoring the types of opportunities that people see to exactly the types of things that they would be interested in working with. As far as like how to get noticed, I would definitely just suggest, if you're smaller, to seek out one of these networks, such as Influence Central. And if you're larger, we're likely going to find you. Yeah. So we do have teams of people that are sort of scouring the interwebs, looking for people who talk about food, who talk about pets, who talk about, tech, those sorts of things, and who are considered influential or that people engage with. And we watch. We'll make lists, and we'll watch. We'll watch how you operate on social. We'll watch how you engage with your commenters. We will sort of review past posts. So there are things that we look for and things that, we hope not to see, and those sorts of things. But
what don't you want to see?
Always nudity, right?
Come on, let's get real here.
Okay, yeah. All right. We'll skip ahead a few questions. Fine. So depending on the brand, so we definitely work with some brands who are maybe a little bit more wholesome. So like I'm not going to name names.
No swear words, no bad words.
Well, that's right. And so while a lot of us may have healthy sex lives, we don't necessarily, when we're marketing for play school products or preschool products, I should say, we don't necessarily want to see side images and ads for adult toys and those sorts of things. So
preschoolers and adult toys, they kind of,
absolutely, because
one without the other, right?
Yeah, and you know what? When Junior wanders into your bedside table, you have to come up with an answer very quickly, and largely that will be, oh, well, that's just a toy.
Yes, just a toy.
So. Yeah. So those are some things, right? And then we would just sort of monitor your reputation. We have tools, as likely other large networks and PR firms have as well, to sort of monitor the types of engagements that you have across the internet.
What kind of tools?
Well, we use Sysomos, which I hear is pretty pricey. So like a smaller firm. Yeah. But I mean, there are other things that we use as well. We love status people to make sure that, the growth and your follower is like it's an organic growth that you're talking about. There's lots of little tools and tricks.
Wait, I've never heard of status people. What's status people?
Status people.
Sounds like a jeans brand.
Well, so there are a number of different sites that will help us determine what percentage of your followers are the result of organic growth and real, authentic conversation, rather than paid. I hate to say it, but some people do sort of fall victim to that. Like that DM that you get. Hey, I'll give you 40,000 followers for $6.
Let's be clear. That's a choice. That's not. People don't fall into that trap. That's a choice.
Well, they fall into making the bad choice. So we definitely, because what we're selling to our clients are authentic, engaged, passionate storytellers.
Right.
We want to make sure that they are in fact authentic, and that we're giving the client the reach that they've paid us for.
By the way, I just checked, and it says that I've just posted the link for those of you joining. If you want to check your own account, I have 5% fake followers.
Oh, amazing! I have 6%.
Ooh. So I guess I'm fine with the 5%.
That's about how percent fake I am, actually. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm just going to say, not all real, right?
Which parts? No.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Anne, so talk about from the agency side, how does that generally work? Does the client say, I want these types of clients, or I want these types of bloggers, go out and find them? Or do you have do you have an A list and you use that when client wants something? Tell us. Tell us the secrets.
Well, it really depends on the project, and it's different for every project, and it's usually a combination of a lot of things. Sometimes brands will have bloggers they've worked with before and really like and want to work with again, which is my personal favorite because I love getting to build that relationship with influencers, and it becomes much more authentic for their readers and for them. And sometimes they don't exactly know what they want. They'll say, we want some bloggers. And so I'll pull a list. And those are from either bloggers we've worked with before on campaigns or an existing list that we have. But I always make sure if I'm using, oh, hey, we had this list that we pulled last time for something really similar, and I bet these would fit. Make sure to go through again because the landscape changes so often that I want to make sure there's not some new fabulous blogger who I've missed because they weren't on a list that was made.
While we're talking about lists, is there a blacklist, and do you have one?
It's okay.
I personally have bloggers I would prefer not to work with.
I'm primarily blogger / influencer. I'm usually on this side of things, but I have done blogger outreach. It is not something I enjoy. I got to be honest.
Well, there's no official, in a dry Excel folder somewhere, the Golin blacklist. That's not a thing. But there are people I would prefer not to work with, and there are, I wouldn't call it a blacklist, but there are people, like Natalie was saying, that you don't want to work with for certain brands or certain campaigns because it's just not the image. If you have 1 or 2 swear words on your blog, I really don't care. If every other word is a swear word, that's going to throw up some flags for me. And so it's not that I would blacklist them. It's just that, for the vast majority of the brands I work with are very family friendly and very mainstream, I'd say. And they tend to be a little bit more conservative because they're big companies and they aren't as willing to take a risk with their public image. Whereas sometimes with smaller companies or startups, it's a little bit easier for them to play fast and loose. With these, we've got teams of lawyers who would lose their mind.
Here's a question digging in a little deeper, and I swear this is not going to be a gossipy session, unless we want it to be. But
who's on your blacklist?
Name names. I want you to name names. No, so I worked for a company that hired an agency. This is a weird, convoluted thing. They were looking at putting together an influencer program, and they hired an agency to come up with a list of names. And from a numbers standpoint, they were all pretty good names. But one of the things that being in this space that I can look at, and I'm wondering how you guys, both of you, consider this, is the reputation of the bloggers. Do you take that into account? And I'm just going to be frank, this is not naming names, but there's one particular blogger who's got a very prominent following, does very well, and probably about 2-3 years ago, she was outed very publicly for plagiarizing something. And in my mind, I'm like, well, this is what we do. We write. If you plagiarize, that's kind of like a career killer. But this person is still out there, still actively employed, still getting very nice jobs. So
are they still plagiarizing?
I would think not. But to me, it's kind of like you do it once, and I don't know. So what do you guys think about reputation in general? Does that come into play at all? That's a tougher thing.
I mean, first of all, I just want to say, I think people can screw up and then correct themselves, right?
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
And everyone loves a redemption story. I think reputation absolutely matters. And I'm going to name the boogeyman, I guess. I check Go.me. I search Get Off My Internet before I hire big bloggers. I don't do it for every campaign, but for some, if I'm hiring a blogger at, let's say, like $2,000 or above, or for an extended partnership, I will check it and just see, I'll check, do they have a thread in the forums? Have they been front page news lately or frequently? And if so, obviously taking it all with a grain of salt, but also looking at what is the public perception of this person.
And part of it was with this particular list of influencers, the number one person on there, I didn't know, but someone I was working with said oh, this person is frequently mentioned on Gomi. So for those of you that don't know, not that I'm encouraging this site, but Gomi
I'm
stands.
now looking on it. I'm like, where the hell?
I know. I've never heard of it.
It's called Get Off My Internet?
Yeah, getoffmyinternets.net.
Yes.
Okay, I will look that up.
I was once the subject. Well, it's not a very well respected site. It's very much a gossipy, sometimes very cruel site. I was once the proud subject of my own thread on there, and the only
I have been a subject on threads, but they're usually on private Facebook groups.
Oh yeah.
But we
I've
also
been
hear about
on those too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm searching my name now. Nothing found.
Well, I was on there, and
Julie.
the only reason I knew it was because it was a huge traffic driver to my site.
Oh my God.
Not that I want to duplicate that at all, but it was just, it's something to be aware of. And from a reputation standpoint, it's exactly what you said, Anne. It's your reputation, but it's also your public perception, whether it's true or not. That comes back to it, and I think that matters.
I'll address that as well, because I think that it's quite topical on both sides of the border for our organization. So we definitely have a larger influencer network in the United States than we do in Canada, but they manage it much the same. It's a lot of the same people, a lot of the same project managers that work the accounts. And, as with anybody in any job, you become very, very familiar with, like, I know your name, I know your Twitter handle, I know, like, the second somebody says your name, your blog comes to mind, I can visualize it. I remember the last campaign that you worked on with us and those sorts of things. And, while we don't have a blacklist and all of that, we definitely, what? You see my blacklist?
I'm trying to drink off screen.
No, she's drinking a paper wine off. Yeah, I'm just doing straight vodka tonight.
The only reason why I'm here is Julie said there would be wine, so
I brought wine.
Okay.
I brought wine.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you guys. Are you guys all West Coasters?
No,
Yes.
I live in Toronto.
Oh, okay. So I had my glass of wine before, and I'm like, man, I'm tired. I don't think
Well,
I can do any more wine.
I had it while I was making supper, and then I was like, oh, damn, 9 o'clock's coming around.
I'm like, maybe I'll have another one with, and I said, I need to rehydrate before I dehydrate. That's what I usually say.
Anyway, sorry, Natalie.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So we don't have a blacklist, but we do have favorites. And, you'll hear rumblings, oh, Mom Central has their favorites.
It's the same people that get the same campaign.
Yes, we do. We do have
The same
favorites.
people who keep delivering.
Exactly. It's the people who deliver on time. It's the people who don't grumble when they don't get the campaign that they want. It's the people that, go above and beyond. Those are people that, like, a really great campaign comes in with a healthy budget, because a lot of, what we pay out is determined by the client's budget and that sort of thing. And these people will come to mind because we're like, oh, wow, Julie delivers every time. She goes above and beyond. That's who I want.
Right. Well, and I think that's,
but yeah, favorites.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, because I'll tell you, I'm one of the first people that if I'm working on a campaign, I'm happy to say, if you're looking for, depending on the type of campaign, but if you're looking for additional bloggers, let me know. And a lot of times they'll say, oh God, I would love to hear your recommendations. And it's going to be people that I know. It's going to be people that I've had, that I've read their blog. Well, they're probably going to be friends of mine, but I don't trust me, I don't recommend people just because they're friends. In fact,
But you're going to recommend people are going to deliver, right? Because
well, but it's the same as any job.
It's a reflection on me. If I recommend you, then you better do a good job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
and as far as
I think reputation really plays that way more so than in a negative, I know your reputation, so I'm not going to work with you. For me personally, it plays more in, I know your reputation, so you're going to be the first one I go to.
Yeah. So it's more like a top 10 list than a no-fly zone.
And it's not that I'm playing favorites, and I wouldn't pick them if they weren't right for the campaign.
Right.
But if I've got a campaign that would fit for someone's blog, and I know that they deliver really great images, high quality, their writing is good, they get brand names and product names right every time, and they weave my messaging in a way that feels natural and really good, and then Can I name drop somebody who I love working with?
Yeah.
As long as it's just me.
Yeah. Kimber from The Pinning Mama is fantastic. She's
Oh,
great.
I just met her at Type A.
Yeah, well, I met her at Type A Vegas last year, and I've worked with her, and she's one who I'm just like, yes, I love working with her because she makes my life easy.
Yeah.
And
So I'm wondering why you and I haven't worked more together than Anne. Is there something you want to tell me?
I just met Anne.
That's a really bad look for me.
And you know I have chickens, right? It's a big draw to most people.
That's a hot market.
Keep in mind for all of my chicken campaigns.
All right.
I have dogs too. You like dogs, right?
Oh, Pomeranian.
I got one.
Do you know the Super Dogs? The Super Dog show? Where they make the dogs go in a show and they go over jumps and they do tricks?
Oh, yeah.
I was a super dog for 5 years. You like dogs? Right here.
You personally were a super dog,
Yeah.
or you
Yeah,
were
my dogs were super dogs.
And did tricks for treats?
Yeah.
stupid pet tricks? Hey, just a reminder for those of you that have joined, first of all, welcome. If you have questions, please just jump in. You can type them in on the side. Ideally, you want to do a /Q, a space, and then your question. It'll pop up on the left-hand side for us. But I mean, I've got things that I'm going to talk about, but if you have something that you specifically want answered, please, by all means. So I want to go back to something a little bit more general, and that is kind of the trend that that agencies and networks are going in when it comes to working with bloggers. First of all, I'm feeling more and more like the term blogger is becoming a little antiquated. And in fact, so I work with the Best Buy blogging network, and and I just got it, and I'm not name dropping, but I just got an email from them, Best Buy, I work with Best Buy, an email from them saying that they wanted us to make sure we had updated our profiles because they're going to start doing social only campaigns where it's not necessarily going to be a blog post, which for me is like, yes, that's so easy to do that. So, so are clients still talking about bloggers? Are they talking about influencers? Are you educating them more on influencers versus bloggers, or how's that working behind the scenes?
I think it's come really naturally, that kind of shift to influencer versus blogger, and not versus, but just using the term influencer because
a little broader.
And sometimes when we say influencer, we are talking about bloggers because we're talking about a blog post campaign.
Right.
But sometimes we're talking about Instagram or YouTube or maybe just Twitter. You know, it depends on the campaign. And so I think that over the past couple years, I've seen clients just kind of pick it up as we start saying influencer campaign or influencer activation, and they just kind of pick it up. And at least, and I've been very fortunate in my career that I've heard horror stories from people whose clients just don't get it and they don't understand, why is this valuable? Why should I spend money on this? And I've been very lucky to always work with clients and companies who are excited about doing work with influencers and learning more about the space and being good players. And so they've been really receptive and, okay, cool, it's influencer activation. Let's call it that now. Awesome.
So we're not mommy bloggers anymore?
Only when I'm mad at you.
That's what those emails are.
I use it as like a derogatory term. If somebody's bugging me, I'm like, oh, this mommy blogger.
It is a derogatory term.
It is for sure.
Whenever a policeman pulls me over, I say, hey, daddy policeman. It totally works.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And I would absolutely agree with Anne. I think that clients are becoming a lot more sort of worldly when it comes to social media. They're not exactly where we want them all to be at this point, but they're definitely familiar with the different platforms that we use. And so when we have sort of shifted the term from blogger to influencer, that was a natural progression for them as well. Like it was fine.
So that leads nicely into my next question, which is the inevitable question about quantity versus quality. So you talk about checking, and you're probably over here. right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because on my screen you're actually here, but we'll reverse it. So Natalie, you talked about checking people for fake followers or buying followers. And I'll tell you, there are some people I look, I'm like, there's no way they suddenly bumped up 5,000 followers.
It's so easy. And I've actually even had people, say, how could you how could you take opposition to the fact that I've bought followers? I'm just trying to keep up because this is where the industry is going.
Well, there is an argument for that.
Well,
I don't buy followers, but I've heard people give that same argument saying, well, if you're going to base me on quantity versus quality, then I'm going to bump up my quantity so I get noticed. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm saying I've heard that argument before.
So I think that the whole thing is that when you're working with a network or an agency, you have to trust that they have the tools and that, they're only putting forth bloggers that have organic, authentic followings. Mm-hmm. So, there definitely are bloggers that we can't work with any longer because they do have such a hearty sort of fake following. What? Oh, about that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's true.
They've been called out.
Yeah.
Well,
so do you ever tell them, Natalie?
So what I do is when they ask, I say, hey, there's no reason why you shouldn't be selected as long as you keep us apprised of your Google Analytics, your follower growth is largely organic, 95 or around there, that, you keep your blog updated, that you're posting regularly, and that, you have a
You're not a liar and a cheater.
Well, no, and that you've got a nice sampling of sort of lifestyle posts versus sponsored posts. So
but Natalie just said that we could buy 5% of our followers as long as 95% are organic. I'm kidding.
Well, but you wouldn't because those are just the spammers that naturally follow you anyway, right? We've all got them, but but it's about 5 to 10%. When you see somebody who has 65%, I'm sorry, but bells are going off.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, those of you that are watching, I don't know if you've done this. I have my own tools that I look at on Twitter to get rid of people that I don't want to be following. Instagram doesn't have an easy way to do that. There's an app I use called Followers Pro. I think it costs like 99 cents or $1.99, $2.99, whatever. Okay.
Time. We'll just block him.
Yeah.
See you later, Max Amer.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't. Yeah, that was icky. I was like, how do we block that person? I'm glad you were on it, Julie. But
I don't think I blocked him, but I got rid of his comments.
Okay, that's fine. So I like this Followers Pro app. I'm going to type the name of it. It's on iPhone, and it does cost money, but if you link it to your Instagram account, it does help you see because there are a lot of people that play the follow unfollow game.
Totally.
Yeah. All right.
Like the 10,000 hashtags and all that, right?
Yeah, hold on.
And they do the cycle, like follow a bunch of people, and then if those people don't follow them back, they unfollow them and then go through again. I don't have the energy or the time for that,
I don't either. Suddenly,
and that person's been blocked, so you shouldn't have to worry anymore.
Although, look at your props. You got a lot of props there. Woo!
That's because you're pretty.
You're so pretty.
Wow.
Hey, I got a marriage proposal on Periscope today. Like,
oh my goodness.
My husband was on too, and he goes, "Will you marry me?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that's." So I have to ask this.
I love Sean. I'm going to give Sean my props here.
So I have to ask this question. This is really just my own personal, I'm dying to know this. But when it comes to Instagram, what is really kind of the magic number that clients are, because I know they're looking at the type of content, but there is also a number, and I've heard 5,000, I've heard 10,000. I'm just curious if there's generally a number that you guys hear when it comes to Instagram campaigns.
I mean, it's different for every client, and I know mine are different in being much bigger, but usually for us it's like 100,000.
I'm so close. I'm at like 2,800.
So you're telling me I have a chance.
You keep me in mind. I'm really close. Where's that buy Instagram followers page again?
We usually do like 100,000, or for some campaigns it's
Wow.
$1 million.
My 2,800 people are real, and they're real.
I was going to change my Instagram name to Selena Gomez just to see if it helped me out at all, but I don't know.
Yeah. So for us, I would say probably around, between 5,000 and 10,000. But yeah, but a lot of times, like, we do have to go back to the client and say, your expectations are a tad unrealistic because, here's who you're going to get, a celebrity. And here's how much that's going to cost. So why not take these 20 influencers with this, quality following at this price?
And it depends on how much the clients want to pay as well, right? Because if you've got someone with 100,000 followers, I mean, my experience is typically you're going to be paying them thousands of dollars. Whereas a schmuck like us, I'll be like, $50.
Fashion, Fadra. We don't do high fashion.
Well, right? I do, but I'm just saying.
So what's the biggest? Again, this is just now a personal question. What if you were to tell an influencer to invest in a platform or an asset? Which asset do you feel has the biggest ROI?
Asset.
Doom, 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 doom.
Okay, I would say
double talk. Okay, Anne first.
Sorry.
Yep.
My answer was I don't really know. So if Natalie has something better, because it really depends on the client and the kind of work
like
you
I would think
do.
a food blogger recipe, they want a big Pinterest following.
Right. If you're big into like crafts and DIY, then Pinterest. If you're really into fashion, then
or
probably
they want
Instagram.
Someone to do a Twitter party, then obviously Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter. Yeah. So it really kind of.
Are people still doing Twitter parties? By the way, Natalie, I'm going to give you a chance to answer. I'm just curious. Are people still? Are Twitter parties still a big thing?
They are.
They're hot in Canada.
They're in the States too. The Mom Central probably does like 3-4 a week.
Mm.
Okay. Oh,
I think it's a different audience though.
You can mute your thingy, Julie, or not. Okay.
Phaedra, what I was going to say was, not in terms of social platform, i.e. where to invest your time. But if I was an influencer, if I were a blogger, I would definitely spend my time getting a professional designer. Yeah. So a lot of times,
good answer.
We'll review the sign-up list for a particular campaign, and we'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so, she's great. She's so personable, really nice, well-respected within the community. Mm-hmm. It's authentic. She's, fabulous. She is a cook. She's so passionate about it. And then you go to her blog and it's like black background, purple writing. It looks like it was made on GeoCities. And you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
We can't put her forward.
Yeah, that I really am glad to hear you pay attention to that. So that makes me think of another fascinating question, which is, so Natalie, you said if I were a blogger, and I know you've done your own personal blog, but I think you still do some of your own blogging, which I think is nice.
Check out my amazing and hilarious gift guide that I have up today.
I mean,
it was sponsored by no one.
I think it helps to keep one foot in that space so you can really kind of relate.
And that's exactly why I created one. But
but I'm curious how. And I know a little bit of your background, but obviously none of us majored in social media in college, right? Because I'm assuming it wasn't a thing. So how did you get to the point that you are right now? Like I've done blogger outreach. Julie, I know you've done blogger outreach. I've been in marketing and I'm a blogger. So it's sort of a natural part of what I do. But how did you guys get to where you are?
Okay. All right. I will start.
Accident.
I spent many, many years, and I don't want to date myself, but I spent many years in telecom. So I happened upon it at a very young age. Telecom, I don't know. So I worked at Sprint Canada, and then that was taken over by Rogers. And I worked a variety of sort of progressively customer care, accounts receivable, sales operations, all of that. So I had a really good background in corporate. So for me, that was a knowledge of how to speak to a corporate client how to read a contract, how to interpret a contract, and, sort of apply it to your day-to-day operations, as well as, just presentation and all that kind of stuff. How I happened upon this industry was, I like to chat. I like to chat a lot about TV shows with people who like the same TV shows that I do. And
are you one of those Bachelor kind of people, or like a Walking Dead, or
Walking Dead? Walking Dead. And back in the day, it was me and all the Yummy Mummy Club ladies.
Okay.
And it was True Blood. And so we'd be like, oh my God, Eric or Bill, which one, And so for me, I just sort of viewed Twitter as a great place to meet people. And
that's when Twitter was fun.
That's when Twitter was fun. Exactly. So this, God, it must have been like 2008, a long time.
Yeah.
So it was just me engaging in conversation with my friends. And then, people were like, hey, you spend a lot of time on Twitter. Would you like to make some money doing that? And so I started freelancing, I suppose, in late 2009, just for a variety of different organizations. I did nonprofit. I did, sort of in the mom sphere. Then Cor and Catherine from Mom Central / Influence Central approached me, and they were like, okay, stop doing all of those other clients. Come work for us full time, because we've never seen you make a spelling mistake. So you're probably going to be a good editor, and we like what you write. You're really great in 140 characters. Yeah. So come over.
And I think that's part of it nowadays. There's room to make your way. Right?
Oh, sure.
Get out there and start doing it, and build something up from the ground up.
And you mentioned something, Natalie, that I want to come back to in a minute. So remind me about your corporate experience. But before we do that, I want to go to Anne to talk a little bit about the evolution of how you got to where you are, and how you feel like it's been sort of a progression for you.
Yeah, so I started in live events, actually, because I graduated from college with a finance degree just as the financial industry collapsed. So it was really great. My career prospects were looking pretty good. So I went into live event production, which is what I had done when I was in college. It was my job then. And so from there, I've always been on social media. I was sort of that weird in between generation where, not even a whole generation, but just like a span of 3 years, where we got Facebook when it was still just for colleges, but we were all still on MySpace too. And then Twitter was this thing that we were like, sure, we'll join that. And so, but we still had our LiveJournal accounts that we'd had since high school.
That is cool.
I got my first email in 2002.
Yeah. So it was this strange we kind of grew up with it in that media space. And so when I was in grad school, I was studying nonprofit management and ended up doing a focus in how nonprofits were using social media. And then from there, I basically harassed the Humane Society of the United States until they hired me. I just bugged them. I was like, listen, I'm going to come work for you and do this. And they were like, finally, they were just like, fine, show up.
That's how we do it.
Yeah, worked there for a few years, doing mostly community management, started their blogger influencer program, and, doing more of that. At that time, it was still very undefined. Are we doing digital marketing? Does this sit in PR?
It's a little undefined in a lot of places.
It still is. And so what I think is interesting is that in my career, I've worked at a nonprofit. I've worked at an advertising, not advertising. I work with advertising agencies, but I worked at a web design and development marketing agency. Now I'm at a PR agency, and I'm doing the same thing.
That's bizarre. Kind of bizarre.
It's just that where I sit is different.
So going back to the talk about having a corporate background. So I have a corporate background because, I had to have a job and make money before I burst onto the blogging scene.
And despite what you think, I had a corporate background.
They have corporations
I
on
can
that little
believe it.
island.
Isn't that shocking?
You have leadership skills, mad leadership skills.
Mad leadership skills, man.
Well, so I bring that up because a couple weeks ago we had a friend of mine on, and Anne, I think you know her, Melissa Culbertson. You know, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So,
sure.
and part of the reason she started her site Blog Clarity was because, you know, Melissa's in marketing, I was in marketing, we were both bloggers, and we talked about this level of professionalism that was missing. I think it's not so prevalent now, although still a little bit, but this level of professionalism. And we felt like a lot of it was because people were starting blogs that had, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, that had never really worked in the workforce, and they didn't know about contracts and obligations and value propositions and key messaging and things like that. And so
fulfilling their commitments.
Fulfilling their commitment. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that's lent itself. And I think for anybody, most of my most successful blogger friends have had some sort of career before they did this. I'm not saying it's a requirement, but along those lines, what are some of the things that you would like to see bloggers improve upon in terms of professionalism? Either one. Anne, you want to go first on this one? Because I think you were what inspired this topic. So yes, so Anne posted a very nice. We're in the Type A parent community Facebook group, and Anne posted, a few words about her frustrations in sometimes working with bloggers. And so maybe you want to talk a little bit about that, Anne.
Yeah. So one of the things, and I know that blogging has evolved over the past few years and continues to evolve. And a few years ago, one of the big things was bloggers asking PR agencies and brands to put me on your media list. I want to be on your media list. And so we put them on media lists. And now there's sort of this backlash of, I don't want unpaid opportunities. And so I think the biggest thing that I would like to teach all bloggers, and I know that you all know it, but that I would like everyone to learn is the phrase, please take me off your media list. I am only interested in paid opportunities.
Okay.
Because the thing that, and with so many bloggers who don't come from a corporate background or marketing or this kind of PR media world, I think they just don't understand what it means, but it really damages their credibility when they get upset because they're not understanding. A media list, especially from a PR agency, is pitches for media. You're going to get press releases, you're going to get media pitches, and they're not paid because media don't get paid to cover.
Well, they get paid from the company that hires them.
The publications, yes.
Exactly.
But their job is to create newsworthy stories, so they're not going to just
and to create editorial content.
So true story along those lines. Recently, I started getting all these press releases from, I can't remember the name of this company, but they make garage doors. And by the time I got my third press release saying, if you'd like to cover this, we can send you the standard high-res images. And I didn't get upset. I just simply wrote back and said, as much as I love a good garage door, I just don't see that I'll ever really have a place for a story like this on my blog. So, and I did if you want to go ahead and take me off your list, that would be okay. And I didn't do it in a snarky way or like I'm not going to write about garage doors. Like privately, I might have said that, but
or publicly on Blab.
On Blab, I did not name. I did not name company names, but they are mighty fine garage doors. I'm just like, I'm good on garage doors. So,
but point well made, Anne, because I did not know that there was a difference because we don't have sort of media lists or anything like that. So yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where, and it was kind of the point of my Type A post that I think kind of got lost a little bit, was that our first instinct should never be to be offended and angry. Whether from the blog or the agency, the network side, it should always be from a place of, hey, this isn't what I'm looking for. If it's a brand you love, you might want to stay on their media list just so you know what's going on with them. But you might also say, hey, I'm not really doing a lot of editorial content right now that's brand specific. Could you put me in touch with whoever does your influencer work?
Yeah.
Or, just asking those questions and kind of, or just opening it up like, hey, maybe not for this campaign, but do you think in the future you'd have the opportunity for
well,
paid
and
work?
I think that's
because if you've already gotten their press release and the campaign's underway, they probably don't have budget. Otherwise, they
and I
would've
think
said
that's
it.
a great point. And most of the time, the people that push out the press releases are not the decision makers about campaigns or spend. But yeah, like a couple years ago, I got a press release about some commemorative event in the Baltimore Harbor about cruise ships. I think it was Carnival Cruises or something. And I said, this is a really interesting event. You know, I wouldn't mind being invited to cover this event in person next time, or, you know, possibly working with you. And they said, I'll pass your name along to our influencer or blogger relations, whatever, who I never heard from, but whatever. I made the effort.
But it was a nice option. And I think that every time you've got a chance to engage back and forth, you're going to have a better opportunity to figure out what they're looking for, if you've got the right thing to solve their problem, or let them more bless you.
That hurt my belly.
So that they can figure out what you're more about, right? I mean, we're just names on a list, just like you guys are names on a list. And until we have the opportunity to get to know more about each other, we're not really going to know how those names are going to fit. So.
And we've got Liza, who's a musing foodie, who just chimed in. Hi, Liza. Thanks for joining us. And she's talking about budget and timing, and I think that's a great thing, especially if you're working directly. I mean, a lot of times if we're working with Anne or Natalie, you've already worked with the brands, they already have their campaign spec'd out and so on. But a lot of times if you're approaching a brand directly to work with them, be prepared to say, I have a great idea, and for them to say, let's talk about it next year or next budget cycle, understand what their fiscal calendar is. And I mean, just know that they might have some money, but they might not.
Yeah. Good job, Phaedra.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Boo, you just kind of want to go, and that's it.
Drops mic.
Yeah. So, you know, so basically we're saying that when we get those smothering or those consistent stream of press releases, we should just say thanks, but no thanks.
And I mean, you also though always have the option of deleting, ignoring, marking spam.
I do a lot of the delete and ignore.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do a lot of delete without responding because I don't have time and I don't really care enough to respond.
They're not expecting a response. They're just hoping it gets picked up and put in the machine, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens a lot when you see a lot of, especially smaller companies still doing the spray and pray, which is where they will blast their press release out to 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And
I had a local company, a French immersion academy, not to make this all about me, who asked who asked if I would write about their French immersion academy, which is completely irrelevant to me. And in exchange, they would promote me on their Facebook page and their Twitter handle.
Aren't you lucky?
And I think they had 110 people on their Facebook page and 89 on their Twitter. And it was kind of like, well, bless your heart.
That's so sweet.
So, Natalie, did you?
It's like, and if you're not a fit for me, why would I think that your audience would want to read my content?
Right.
It's going to be in English, right?
Right. And sometimes I try and come back and educate the person who's pitching me, but sometimes I'm just like, late. Natalie, I wanted to give you a chance to put in your 2 cents about things that let's say, things you would like bloggers to improve on to make your job easier.
Okay.
So she's going to pull out a big list.
I'm not.
What's your comfortable?
I'm really not. The bloggers that we work with are largely just wonderful, wonderful to work with. The client services people usually come to me when they need a message to be softened or a request to be made in a very tactful way. Yes. I'm not shy about speaking the truth. However, I will say that one thing that I have a really hard time doing is telling people that they have poor grammar and spelling. It's hard. It's very hard to, have that conversation with somebody. We have a lot of tremendously talented bloggers who have wonderful stories to tell, and they weave the brand messaging in really authentically, like everything that we want. They create this whole narrative around it, but it's riddled with spelling mistakes.
I always think you're talking about me.
I'm not at all. Yours are wonderful.
But that's when you can come back and say, we noticed a few typos, which make it seem like it's an accident.
Fine. Yeah.
So you know what? many, many times we have tried that, I'm just going to feign ignorance. Hey, maybe you forgot to spell check this one. But, unfortunately with a lot of people, it just doesn't sink in. And I'm thinking maybe other networks or other agencies or maybe brands directly are continuing to give them opportunities so they don't think that they should invest the time. Yeah. But from my perspective, like, that's a hard one. And I do, because I'm like sort of the face of the community. I do get a lot of emails or, just sort of DMs or private messages on Facebook about, hey, I've applied for, maybe the past 5 to 10 campaigns. I haven't been selected. Do you have any idea why? And that's the hardest thing for me to be honest about, because I feel.
Are you though? Because that's valuable.
That's the biggest thing that will help them grow and change though. And I'll go to my little soapbox.
That's hard though. It's hard. I see why that's hard.
It's hard. So I have been honest with the people that I think could handle it, but I'll be perfectly honest. Like sometimes I just sort of, maybe you just want to fit for the brand. I know.
I think that's what's missing in the industry. I don't think there's an opportunity or something set up for brands and networks and PR agencies to give that direct feedback. Because like you said, Fadra, most of these people.
Well, that's why I jumped at the opportunity for this call.
That's right. But they've come in without the maybe a lot of experience. They've happened upon these blogs and now they're getting compensated. They don't understand the rules, the expectations, nothing, right? Yeah. And if they're able to flip that around and actually say, hey, we threw your blog post through an editor and this is what came back. This is how you can fix that, right?
So here's a funny story.
From a client.
I did a sponsored post for a brand that wanted to proof the post before it went live, and it was really funny. So the PR girl for the brand, and I'd say girl, I shouldn't say girl. she was a youngin', and she comes back, and I can't remember what the phrase was, but I put something in my post that was kind of like, "I'ma let you finish," and I literally spelled it that way, like. I'm gonna let you finish. And she comes back, she goes, I just wanted to let you know that you spelled. No. I said, I know, I'm trying to sort of, be like slangy kind of.
Yeah. You're trying to be cool, right, Phaedra?
Like, it's cool. If I have to tell you it's cool.
There's nothing worse than like explaining it like, no, that was supposed to be
I think you meant to say, I am going to let you finish.
That's right.
That is hilarious.
We are almost out of time, but you guys brought up something that I think would be a great closing question, and that is, when we work with you, I find that a lot of times the biggest thing that we're missing is feedback on a campaign. So I don't feel like that's a natural part of this process where you say, like if it's saying the client loved your post, do you know how far that goes for me? I like, because I like to go above and beyond. And I will tell you, I'm one of those people that sometimes I'll check the campaign hashtag and I'll look at what other people have done and been like, are you kidding me? That's crap. And I spent all this time.
And you should do that. Good on you.
I like being at the top of the hashtag. It's like I'm like, screw that.
Boom. I guess for me, I want to know that somebody has said, oh, yes. I mean, I don't want to hear like, his post sucked. What I want to hear is, the client really noticed what you did. They really thought you did great. I mean, just something like that. What's a better way that bloggers...
What stood out, right? Because if you know what stands out, you can do it again.
Okay. I mean, do we need to just be asking you?
Unfortunately, for our organization, I think you would have to ask. Because that's not sort of like that's not a step in the 8-step process that we currently have. Now that we know that it's important.
Natalie, you guys used to email back and you'd say, oh, I read your post and I love the da-da-da-da. And that made huge, that was so nice to know you actually read it.
But do you think that was Mom Central, or do you think that was Sarah Holden?
That was Sarah, yeah.
Right? So...
That was great, though. Yeah,
I know. She's lovely like that. So maybe that's something that we would look at sort of reinstating. How I do it from my chair is I ask all of the client services teams, what were your favorite posts this week? Because they are reading them. They read them from beginning to end. And they will send me for each hashtag what were their favorites. And I'll push those out from the Influence Central hashtag or from the Mom Central US handle. So I'll push them out and I'll say, hey, we really love this one. Or Julie, you hit this one out of the park. Amazing. And those sorts of things. But I'll definitely admit we don't often carve out enough time to give that recognition and to acknowledge it that way.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's no feedback to give, but
you know what? I think it's just it's fallen out of our process, and we're like, okay, cool, we got our 40 posts, on to the next campaign.
Well, yeah, you're probably just like, did the bloggers do what they were supposed to do? Perfect.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I get that.
Nobody forgot.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Anne?
Yeah, I think from my end it's different because as opposed to more program type of things, when I'm working with bloggers, I'm emailing you directly and we're working in tandem. It's a direct back and forth throughout the whole process. And so I'm really glad that you said that, because that is something that I can definitely improve on, is giving that feedback, because you're right that after the post is up, we get really focused on, okay, now I need to draft copy for the client to push this out from their handles. And now I need to make sure I get your invoice. And, could you put this phone number on your invoice for me?
Right.
Yeah. And you get bogged down in those details of trying to like just wrap it up and make sure. Honestly, for me, it's like I have to get this person paid.
That's
where my mind goes. I'm like,
priority.
I'm like, accounting's going to yell at me if I don't get all of this in. And I need to get them paid. But you're right that is something that really could, because our clients do. I'll get the feedback. Maybe it's just casually, like on the phone, they'll be like, oh yeah, and I really liked the way that these images turned out in this post. And that's definitely, I need to work on sending that back to the bloggers and passing that along.
I think that's an industry thing. I think we all.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. And I think it matters a lot more than.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone have any final thoughts, closing thoughts, things we didn't cover? Like one point you just felt like you had to make?
I do.
Natalie.
So when you asked whether we had any feedback on how bloggers could improve, I asked that to our client services team today when I was in the office, and they all resoundingly and unanimously said, read the email. So, we go through painstaking measures to make sure that we give you every single detail in that outreach. So in the first outreach, this is what we're expecting of you. In the second outreach, we're actually itemizing each of the thing. You need 2 of these and 4 of these by this date and all of this. So don't just sort of skim it and then email us with 10,000 questions, because I'm going to be like, literally, that was in line 2. Literally, this was in line 4. Like, come on. And that, I think, comes back, Phaedra, to the whole, like, maybe people not having a corporate background don't realize, that you got to read it.
It's attention to detail. And I can tell you, for people like me, the detailed emails are extremely valuable, because it's often like, oh, I got to do that post tomorrow. And then I sit down and go, oh my God, I didn't realize I had to do all this. But I will get it done. I will get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any closing final thoughts?
I would just say, when you asked if there's one thing to improve on, one thing that I would say in sort of a general sort of capacity is photography.
Amen.
I'm the world's worst photographer. I proudly hold that title. I'm awful. But I think that more and more, as we see platforms like Instagram get more important, and even your blog, when I go to your page, part of it is that I want to send the client something that they're going to go, wow, this is great, because that makes me look good. And really, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is making me look good. But I think also that's something that, from a first instinct, when I go to your Instagram page or when I pull up your Twitter account or your Facebook, with any of your platforms, really, if I'm just knocked back by like your photo of it all really great, that I'm like, yes, done.
Well, Liza, who's on?
Literally, I will pay you, but please photograph my product.
Well, Liza, who's on, is a food blogger, and I mean that will differentiate you so much, your photography. So this has been a great discussion. Lots of good points. We are running late, so we're going to wrap it up. And to those of you that are watching, I know you're really disappointed, but we are not going to have a broadcast next week. Next Thursday is American Thanksgiving.
We don't know. I'll be around somewhere.
Because real Thanksgiving happened.
Yeah, ours happened weeks ago.
Nobody cares about Canadian Thanksgiving.
We call it real Thanksgiving.
Real Thanksgiving. This one is just Black Friday, right? Isn't that what next week is?
Yeah, yes. Okay, so
we call it Thanksgiving.
we'll be back in 2 weeks, but we don't have a topic yet. So if you have a topic or something you want to see covered,
thinking about talking about affiliate sales.
Oh yeah, affiliate marketing. That's right. And I want to do one on Pinterest too. So, but if you have, we're gonna hash that out. If you have a burning topic, if you'll tweet at Julie Nowell or at All Things Fadra, we'd love to get your feedback and get some really top-notch guests.
I'm going to be setting a date. I'll be here probably next Tuesday, I think, with Jennifer Powell of Heart Gala, and we're actually going to talk about all the things or what you should really put in that box of a Blogger application that says, why do you want to work on this campaign? So we're going to talk about that entry form and what that really means and what they do with the information when it comes in on a Blogger campaign and how they narrow it down. So what's going to make the difference between getting picked up and not picked up? So we're going to do that. It's probably going to be a daytime Blab too. So follow my channel.
So we're saying make sure you follow our Blab channels.
Blabby thing.
Whichever is the right way to point. And thank you so much. Thank you, Natalie and Anne, for taking the time to join us. Appreciated it. I learned a lot too.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.